Discover the incredible heartwarming moment that transformed a crying billionaire's son forever. Ethan Reynolds stood at the edge of his glossy marble driveway, breath fogging in the crisp air, the sound of laughter echoing from nearby homes. Underneath the perfection of affluent suburban life, his heart felt like a stone. At 16 and the heir to a fortune, he had everything except belonging. His father's shadow loomed large, casting a pall over Ethan's every move. Every day felt like he was racing on a treadmill towards a legacy he wasn't sure he wanted. The burden of his father's expectations wound tighter around him, while his own yearning for authentic connection pulsed painfully beneath the weight of golden privilege. When the news hit his father was in the hospital, facing terrifying health issues, Ethan's world shattered. Suddenly, the sprawling estate felt like a gilded cage, each corner echoing solitude. He wandered through the empty halls, their magnificence a stark contrast to the hollowness inside him. At his father's bedside, he could barely find the words to comfort the man who had always expected him to soar beyond the stars. The silent, sterile air only amplified the loneliness that wrapped around him tightly. Desperate for escape, Ethan found himself at a local community center. It burst with life. Bright murals adorned the walls, laughter spilled from rooms with doors ajar. It was a world apart from his own, raw, real, and full of stories waiting to be told. That's where he first met Jack. The man's face, lined with age, was a map of battles fought both on the field in Vietnam and in his life. He had a warm smile that felt like a hug, the kind Ethan had long forgotten. Every kid deserves a chance, Jack explained, enthusiasm lighting his eyes. With a gentle nudge, Jack invited Ethan to volunteer with the youth mentorship program. Reluctantly, Ethan started working with at-risk teens. Each kid came with burdens heavier than the wealth he was used to. There was Maria, a firecracker with dreams of being a doctor, and then Jamal, who had the singing voice of an angel but no means to escape his surroundings. Slowly, laughter replaced the void in Ethan's chest. Their struggles forced him to reevaluate his own life. The ride back home felt heavier than ever. As Ethan tried to share his experience with his father, he was met with a dismissive wave. "You're wasting your time," his father scoffed, the words slicing through him. With each confrontation, the invisible line between them grew deeper. What did any of this mean to a man who counted his worth in assets? The pang of isolation intensified. Wealth seemed less important against the backdrop of shared humanity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The community center's annual fundraiser approached, and Ethan felt a flicker of hope. It was a chance to show the impact of the kids' dreams. Standing backstage, he could hear the murmur of the audience, feel their curiosity like a palpable wave. With a deep breath, he stepped into the light. Instantly, 1,000 eyes were upon him. Heart racing, he shared his journey, stories filled with inspiration that soared beyond class barriers, but as he spoke, whispers rippled through the crowd. He locked eyes with his father, whose expression shifted from skepticism to something that felt like curiosity. Tension wrapped around them both, like a thread pulling tighter. Would this moment bridge the chasm between them, or deepen their divide? Ethan's hands trembled as he faced an uncertain future and an audience waiting for change. As Ethan poured his heart out to the audience, the stories of Maria and Jamal flowed like a river. Each word felt like a lifeline, connecting him to the crowd's emotions. The warmth washed over him as he saw their nodding heads and hopeful eyes. But amid the sea of faces, his father remained a rock, impenetrable and unmoved, a fortress against the tide of feeling. Ethan's voice cracked slightly as he recounted a moment with Maria, who had a tendency to get distracted yet always returned to her dreams with a fierce determination. "She just needed someone to believe in her," Ethan said, locking eyes with the youth in the front row, a boy whose own dreams shimmered with possibility. The vulnerable moment seemed to linger, stretching across the space like a stretched-out rubber band, ready to snap. Then, just when Ethan felt like he was gaining momentum, his father shifted in his seat, a scowl returning to his face. It was a reminder that, while the audience may be cheering for transformation, he still had to face the man whose expectations seemed to drown out every cheer. After the presentation, a whirlwind of people surrounded him, congratulating him on his brave speech. Yet, amidst the accolades and compliments, an unmistakable anxiety knotted his stomach. He could see his father through the crowd, arms crossed, his lips pressed together in a grim line. As the event wound down, Ethan dared to approach him. "Dad," he began, the weight of unsaid words dragging down his voice. He wanted to ask about his father's doubts, to seek understanding, but before he could finish, his father's icy demeanor cut through the warmth of the evening. "Do you really think playing the hero will fix everything, Ethan? You don't get it. Help those kids if you must, but don't forget our family image. This," he gestured toward the community center with a flick of his wrist, "is not our world." The disappointment in his father's eyes crushed him. "It's not about image. It's about people, Dad," he cried, urgency rising. Anger and hurt blurred his vision. What good is a legacy if no one else left to carry it? For a second, the world around them faded. His father's face softened slightly, revealing traces of something vulnerable, but the mask quickly snapped back. "You're young. You'll understand someday," he said dismissively. The conversation left Ethan reeling. He felt like a small boat adrift on a vast ocean. He needed the shore, a beacon of hope. As he left the community center, he glanced back to see Jack, who winked at him from across the space. That simple gesture anchored him. Days passed, blending into one another with aching monotony. The community center buzzed with activity, and as the mentorship program deepened, Ethan grew closer to his group of teens. They shared stories, laughter, and dreams over endless slices of pizza, the most genuine moments he had ever experienced. Then came an invitation that made his heart race. A regional competition was on the horizon, showcasing talented youth performers from various communities. Jamal was determined to sing, and he wanted Ethan to help him prepare. Suddenly, he felt an exhilarating purpose bubble inside him. This was a chance not just for Jamal, but to show his father the world he had been drawn into. Would this be the moment to finally bridge that gap? To reveal the truth of his heart, that wealth was nothing compared to connection? Ethan's pulse quickened at the thought of the competition's stage, a place where dreams could shine bright. It felt like a turning tide. As preparations began, he couldn't shake the feeling that a confrontation was on the horizon. As the event loomed closer, he whispered to himself, "I can't go back now. It's time for the truth." And in that truth lay not just Ethan's moment, but the potential to change the very fabric of what it meant to be a Reynolds. Would his father finally see beyond the riches? Would acceptance lie just on the other side of this performance? The days leading to the competition felt electric. The community center transformed into a hive of creativity, buzzing with laughter and the sound of rehearsals. Each note Jamal sang sent sparks of hope flickering through Ethan's veins. He learned to appreciate the beauty of imperfection as they honed in on every detail, every emotional nuance in the song. This was more than practice, it was a communion of interconnected dreams. Ethan encouraged Jamal to dig deep, to find the part of himself that the world often overlooked. "You're not just a voice," he said one evening, as they sat cross-legged on the floor, shadows stretching across the walls. "You're a story. Tell it." Jamal's eyes widened, and in that moment, Ethan saw the realization light up. There was something powerful in this exchange, a bond forming that transcended any hardship both had faced, but as excitement swelled, shadowed thoughts creeped in. The nagging sensation that his father's disapproval loomed closer than he could express. Would his dad come to the competition? Would he understand? A flurry of anxiety wrapped around his chest, but he pushed the feeling aside. Focus on Jamal. Focus on the performance. That Saturday arrived with a raw energy in the air. The drive to the venue felt surreal, vibrant colors of the city whirring by like a carousel. Tension built in his stomach as they entered the building, full of eager faces and nerves hanging thick in the air like dew. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to ground himself amidst the whirlwind of activity around them. Joy and dread danced hand in hand. They set up in a small room backstage. Jamal paced back and forth, the song lyrics barely clinging to his mind. "What if I mess up?" he said suddenly, biting his lip. Ethan placed his hand on Jamal's shoulder. "What if you soar? What if you find something inside you that you've never felt before?" His words hung in the space between them, filling the empty air with warmth. A slow smile crept across Jamal's face, and together they worked through the last of the nerves, sending imaginary barriers crashing down. The time crept by, but eventually, it was showtime. The dim light of the stage spotlight surrounded Jamal, bursting like the dawn as he stepped into the light. Ethan's heart raced, his hands clammy as he stood at the edge of the stage. He remembered the transformation that occurred when he shared his voice. Jamal stood at this moment, ready to unveil his spirit before a crowd, and then it happened. Jamal opened his mouth to sing, the sound honeyed and rich, weaving through the audience like a warm embrace. It was beautiful. Ethan's heart swelled with pride. This was the power of connection, of vulnerability. As he watched Jamal pour out his heart, Ethan felt a shift within himself. Maybe there was more than just potential for change. It felt like a revelation. But then, through the dim light, he saw his father in the back, standing stone-faced. The knot in Ethan's stomach tightened again, but he couldn't let it overshadow the moment. Jamal's performance reached a crescendo, the audience erupting in applause, yet all Ethan could focus on was the tension between him and the man who raised him. When the song ended, the clapping didn't stop. Jamal took a bow, face beaming with exhilaration, while Ethan struggled to find that same joy. Could this moment break through the wall between worlds? As Jamal basked in the applause, Ethan turned slowly to his father. In the sea of cheers, uncertainty clouded his mind, but he needed to know. "Did you see him?" He shouted above the noise, heart hammering in his chest. But would those words be heard? Could they carry the weight of all that remained unsaid? The moment hung heavy in the air, vibrant and fragile, like crystal on the edge of shattering. Ethan held his breath, waiting for his father's reaction, his own truth teetering on the brink. Would he finally understand? And at that moment, the world faded to a pin-drop silence as his father stepped forward, the weight of years of expectations hanging heavily between them. What would he say now? Ethan's heart felt like it had stuttered to a stop. The world around him blurred for a fleeting second, then sharpened in stark clarity as his father stepped forward. Each stride felt like it echoed into the crowd. Ethan's chest tightened, trapping words that ached to be spoke. His father's face was stoic, eyes locked on Jamal, who was still smiling, lost in the applause. Did he see the boy who poured out his soul? Did he understand the struggle it took for Jamal to get here? "Dad," Ethan began, his voice barely rising above the buzzing crowd. "Did you see him?" But his father's cold glare shifted to Ethan. The distance between them felt like an endless chasm. In that moment, Ethan could see all the expectations scrawled across his father's expression, a long history of dreams that felt unreachable, suffocating. The moment dragged on, stretching like taffy, until his father finally spoke. "You know this isn't what you're meant to do." The words cut sharply. The audience faded into a blur of noise, and Ethan felt as though he were the only one standing in the eye of a storm. "Dad, please no." His father's voice was firm, unyielding. "You have bigger things ahead of you. Jobs, college, a future. But I just listen." His father's frustration erupted, drawing attentions from nearby onlookers. "You can't waste your time on someone like him." Something inside Ethan broke, a rush of warmth cascading over his heart. The feelings of anxiety bubbled up like a shaken soda can. He wanted to scream, wanted to defend Jamal, to explain why this moment mattered so much to him. But words tangled in his throat. Instead, he could only watch as Jamal basked in the crowd's cheer, completely bliss unaware of the storm brewing behind him. "Why can't you see it?" Ethan whispered, feeling the tears prickle behind his eyes. How could his father be so blind? So rigid? His gaze drifted back to Jamal, radiant under the spotlight. It was more than just a song, it was a piece of his heart, a celebration of everything he had pushed through. As the crowd erupted in applause, Ethan felt pride surge back, but it was muddled with anger. Why was his father's disappointment drowning out Jamal's moment? Ethan's breath hitched. The young boy that had thrown himself into the music, unflinching and real, was the person he wanted to be. But could he reconcile that vision with the looming shadow of his father's dreams? "Ethan, you have to think about your future," his father continued, voice still stern. "This isn't it." In that moment it wasn't his father's words that grounded him. It was Jamal's joy, pure, unfiltered, and genuine. Ethan felt a fierce desire to protect that joy. He shook his head defiantly. "No." The word burst from him. Ethan was surprised at his own intensity. "I'm not going to stop just because you don't understand." Something flickered in his father's eyes. Maybe surprise? Or fear? The applause started to fade, leaving a strange silence behind, and for the first time, Ethan felt empowered by his decision. Jamal is talented. He deserves this. And so do I. His father's expression darkened, and for a moment, Ethan thought he might turn and leave. But then, to his shock, he stepped closer again, the atmosphere buzzing with unsaid words. "Your dreams?" Ethan challenged, desperately holding his ground. "Or mine?" Suddenly, a new noise washed over them, Jamal leaning into the microphone, laughter spilling out as he spoke. "I can't believe I did it. That was amazing." Ethan's heart soared, fighting against the weight of his father's gaze. But he wondered, was this truly a moment of freedom, or would it fracture them beyond repair? As questions hung like smoke in the air, Ethan faced the challenge head-on. Would this spark the understanding he craved, or just push them further apart? The uncertainty gnawed at him, even as the audience erupted in joy. A sudden dark cloud formed in Ethan's mind. Would they ever be able to bridge the gap between their worlds? And what if tonight was the turning point he didn't expect? He clutched his chest, feeling the promise of change lurking just beyond reach, the stage brightening beneath the weight of possibilities. The question lingered, leading him to a bracing new thought: what came next? Ethan stood, his heart pounding against the onslaught of emotions tearing through him. Jamal's laughter echoed like a beacon, drawing him in, but the weight of his father's stare anchored him in place. The crowd cheered, and for a fleeting moment, the noise was a comforting blanket. But as he looked at Jamal, a fierce resolve tightened in his chest. "Why can't you just hear me?" Ethan whispered, the words slipping out before he could catch them. Inside, the battle raged on. He wanted his father to understand, stood there longing for a bridge to span the distance between their worlds. It was simple: Jamal's talent wasn't just a hobby or a whim. It was hope. It was everything Ethan ever wanted to do. "It's not just about him." His father shot back, voice low but powerful, edging toward a growl. "It's about what makes sense: a bright future, Ethan. One that doesn't revolve around a fading dream." Fading? Ethan's voice broke, surprise mingling with disbelief. "Maybe you just can't see how bright it actually is, how amazing it is to see someone shine with joy." Ethan could see Jamal glancing toward them, his face still glowing with happiness. He wanted to yell, to tell him that none of it should matter, it was their moment. But the air felt charged with electricity, and he could sense everyone watching, waiting to see what would erupt next. "Do you know how hard he worked for this?" Ethan pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. This isn't just a stage for him. It's all he's got. And what do you have, Ethan? His father stepped forward, his voice like steel. What dream do you think will be supported by clapping hands and fading lights? At that moment, Ethan felt a tremor run through him, but instead of falling apart, he took a deep breath. His father's expectations bore down on him like a weight, yet the power surging from Jamal's joy began to lift him. In a sudden rush, clarity washed over him. Maybe it's exactly what I need to be to let my heart lead for once. The abruptness of his own realizations hit him hard, like a sudden splash of cold water. For too long, he pushed down the rhythm of his passions, smothered beneath someone else's dreams. Seeing Jamal alive in music felt like a call to action. Ethan turned back to the stage, where Jamal clasped his hands together, beaming from ear to ear. It was a vision of pure determination. I need that. I want to make my own music too. No matter what that looks like. His father was silent, gaze still gripping Ethan. It was a pivotal moment, an instant suspended in time. The cheers faded into the background as Ethan took a step closer to the stage. He could feel the audience, a wall of energy vibrating with excitement. Ethan, his father began, a hint of worry creeping into his tone. I have to do this, he replied, voice steadier than he felt inside. I can't just follow your path anymore. I want my own. As Jamal took in Ethan's resolve, he held the mic higher, the ebbing crowd chanting for another song. Laughter and hope flowed between them, allowing a life force brighter than anything Ethan had tasted before. It was infectious. But amid the electric joy, doubt lurked uninvited. What would his father say next? Would this be the ending of their understanding or a new beginning? What if this moment fractured everything instead? The crowd's energy pulsed around him, and Ethan could sense the change in his chest, the heartbeat of freedom. Would he take the leap? In that swirl of possibilities, he felt a thin thread of hope. Would his father follow him into this unknown, or would he remain tethered to his own unyielding path? As the music surged in the background, Ethan's heart raced with questions. Among the echoing cheers, one thought crystallized: this was just the start, wasn't it? And as the first notes rang out again, in that beautiful moment of uncertainty, Ethan understood everything was about to change. The music swelled, wrapping around Ethan like a protective cocoon. The vibrant notes seemed to pulse with the warmth of 1,000 cheers, filling the empty spaces within him. He turned to Jamal, whose smile radiated like the sun. In that moment, it wasn't just a performance, it was a lifeline. The crowd's energy surged as they joined in, voices melding into a chorus that swept through the air. This was what Ethan craved, a connection that extended beyond chords and melodies. It was about living fiercely, about daring to be seen. He felt the pull of dreams inching closer, almost tangible, as he stepped forward. He yearned to grasp them. Come on, Ethan. Sing with me. Jamal shouted, his voice cutting through the din, a call to arms. The way Jamal's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. It ignited something deep within, an urge to join the celebration of life, to find his own voice. Ethan hesitated for a fleeting moment, caught between the rhythm of joy and the weight of his father's expectations. But Jamal was there, encouraging him, and the audience seemed to hold its breath, waiting. It felt like magic, a moment where everything could change. With a deep breath, he grasped the edge of the stage, feeling the pulse of the music seep into his bones. I want to try. The words burst out of him, shaky but clear. The crowd erupted, their excitement overwhelming. Yeah. Jamal beamed, motioning him up. Let us do this. Ethan climbed onto the stage, adrenaline surging through him, heart racing faster than he thought possible. The lights enveloped him, bright but warm. He could see Jamal beside him, ready. They locked eyes, and in that instant, everything else faded away: the crowd, the expectations, the fear. They were a duo, two souls sharing a light in that vast universe. As they began to sing, Ethan felt an electric connection shoot through him. The lyrics flowed like water, every note a testament to his newfound freedom. He was part of something larger, something profoundly beautiful. The crowd sang back, their voices a tidal wave of encouragement that washed over him. Everything felt effortless, each word a piece of his heart laid bare. He saw his father standing at the edge of the crowd, mouth agape, eyes wide in disbelief. There was a flicker of recognition there, an understanding beginning to take root. Maybe, just maybe, he was starting to see Ethan, but with every second on that stage, a pang of doubt hovered just out of reach. Was this moment the spark that could ignite everything welling up inside him? Or merely a fleeting escape from the world that awaited him afterward? As they reached the climax of the song, an unshakable warmth spread through him. For the first time, he felt wholly alive, every inch of him surrendering to the music. He glanced at Jamal, who nodded encouragingly, as if to say they were in this together, no matter the outcome. Then the performance ended, and the crowd erupted into roaring applause. A wave of excitement washed over them both. Ethan's spirit soared, but the weight of reality was still pressing down. "Ethan!" Jamal yelled, catching his breath. "That was incredible. You have to keep going." As the last notes hung in the air, Ethan's chest tightened with the realization that everything he had dreamt about was within reach. But then he caught sight of his father again. The man was still watching, a mix of surprise and deep contemplation shadowing his face. Would he embrace his son's passion, or turn away? With the echo of the audience's applause still ringing in his ears, Ethan stepped away from the mic, heart racing anew. The performance was only a part of it. What came next would determine everything, and as he locked eyes with his father, a question lingered in the air: would this spark of hope ignite a new beginning, or would it leave him feeling more lost than ever? The applause washed over Ethan like waves on a shore, each clap resonating in his chest. He searched the crowd for Jamal, who was beaming with pride, but his gaze was still drawn to his father. The man, once an immovable figure of authority in Ethan's life, stood still, seemingly grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Ethan's heart pounded. Did his father feel what he felt? Did he glimpse the spark, the fire igniting in his son? The uncertainty gnawed at him. As the crowd cheered, Ethan felt torn between the exhilarating thrill of performance and the anxiety that came from facing his father. He stepped off the stage, the spotlight dimming, and the festival's chaos buzzing around him. "Ethan!" Jamal rushed to his side. "You were amazing. Did you see the crowd? They loved you." Ethan's smile barely flickered. "Yeah, but my dad, he looks different." Jamal glanced back, and his enthusiasm dimmed slightly. "Yeah, I can see that. But this is a big step. He saw you up there. That has to mean something. What if it doesn't?" Ethan murmured, biting his lip. "What if this changes nothing?" He shook his head, fighting the sinking feeling in his stomach. The performance had been cathartic, but now reality crept back in, heavy and unrelenting. Jamal placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Let us go talk to him," Jamal urged. "You owe it to yourself to find out how he feels. You can't stay in this gray space forever." Ethan hesitated, glancing once more toward his father. There was uncertainty, yes, but there was also something else: the possibility of acceptance. He took a deep breath, building the courage within him, his resolve hardening like steel. Together, they pushed through the throng of festival-goers, each step feeling like an eternity. The distance from the stage to where his father stood was trivial, yet it felt monumental. Ethan's heart raced with every passing face, every deafening cheer for performances that continued. He had just tasted freedom, yet the prospect of speaking with his father felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. Finally, they reached his father, who remained still, arms crossed, a storm of thoughts playing out behind his eyes. Ethan could feel the heat rising from Jamal beside him, a beacon of unyielding support. "Dad," Ethan started, voice trembling slightly at the edges. He swallowed hard, glancing at Jamal for encouragement before turning back to the man who had always seemed so unapproachable. "Can we talk?" His father looked him over, scrutinizing, as if trying to piece together the boy he'd always known with the emerging young man before him. After what felt like an eternity, his father's stance softened, shoulders dropping a fraction. "Yeah, I think we should," he replied, the words carrying a weight Ethan had longed to hear. Ethan felt a rush of hope, but a tiny seed of doubt lingered. What if his father rejected this new side of him? What if he couldn't accept the truth of who Ethan was becoming? As they stepped to the side, Jamal gave him an encouraging nod and a smile before heading off to grab them drinks, sensing this needed family talk was crucial. Taking a deep breath, Ethan faced his father. "Dad, I want you to know how much that moment meant to me. I've felt like I was living in the shadows, trying to fit into a mold that I just can't." His father's expression shifted from confusion to focus, an earnestness in the way he watched Ethan, absorbing every word. Ethan pressed on, his heart pounding as waves of vulnerability washed over him. "I want to chase my dreams. I want to be true to myself." But even as he spoke, he knew the path forward wouldn't be easy. Anxiety gnawed at him, mixing with a fierce hope. Would his father accept this change? Would they find common ground, or would this lead to yet another rift in their relationship? As the festival's music pulsed behind them, Ethan anxiously awaited his father's response, wondering if this conversation was the first step toward healing or another leap into the unknown. Ethan's breath hitched in his throat as he searched his father's face for any sign of understanding. Silence wrapped around them, heavy with the weight of unsaid words. The festival buzzed on, laughter and music swirling around like a distant echo, but in this moment, time seemed to stand still. His father cleared his throat, eyes narrowing slightly. "Ethan, I always expected you to follow a certain path," he began, voice hesitant. "One that I thought was right. You know, my way." Each word felt like a raw thread being pulled, unraveling something deep within their bond. Ethan clenched his fists, feeling the heat of anger mixed with fear bubbling inside him. "But that path isn't me, Dad. It never was. I can't force myself into a box you've built for me." The words sliced through the air with sudden intensity. "I want to do this. To perform. To be myself." His father's brow furrowed as if wrestling with a shadow of regret. "I don't want you to fail, Ethan. You know how hard I work to give you everything you have." The pain in his dad's voice struck Ethan harder than he expected. "I know, Dad. But I need you to see that chasing my dreams is about more than just success. It's about being happy." His voice cracked, finding strength in vulnerability. "Can't you understand that?" For a moment, they stood in stillness, the noise around them fading into the background just as his father's facade began to crack. Ethan glimpsed something deep, perhaps fear, perhaps pride behind the walls his father had built over the years. Finally, his father exhaled, the tension easing slightly. "I'm scared, Ethan." "You're right." But he hesitated, eyes searching his son's face, grappling with acceptance. "Maybe I've been too rigid. I just what?" Ethan pressed, heart racing. "Want me to live your life?" "No." His father shot back, a mix of frustration and revelation on his face. "I want you to live a good life, a stable life, the life I thought I could provide you." Ethan felt the swell of emotions, a storm of hope and despair swirling inside of him. "What if I fail?" he asked softly, his voice barely audible. "What if I go after this and fall flat on my face?" His father stepped closer, his eyes locking onto Ethan's. "Then you get back up. You learn. You keep going. That's life, son. That's what I've been trying to teach you." The realization hit Ethan like a wave crashing down. This wasn't just about chasing dreams, it was about the journey and learning from every misstep along the way. "You really mean that?" he asked, the doubt trembling in his voice. "I do." His father's hard exterior melted away, replaced by sincerity. I need time to adjust. I've always been protective because I love you. I want to support you." A wave of relief washed over Ethan, mixing with disbelief. This means so much to me, Dad. I promise, I'm going to work hard. I won't let you down. Just remember, it's okay to stumble, his father reminded him, a small smile breaking through. I'll be here, even if I don't completely understand. Ethan's heart soared at the prospect of building something new with his dad, a bridge that had seemed impossible just moments ago. Thank you, he breathed, every word loaded with hope. Before they could say anything more, a commotion erupted nearby. Jamal returned, a drink in each hand, beaming with anticipation. What did I miss? Ethan and his father exchanged a glance, an unspoken agreement of understanding. Nothing much, just getting to know each other again, Ethan replied, warmth flooding through him. As Jamal raised an eyebrow, Ethan knew this was just the beginning. The road ahead remained uncertain, but now they'd take those steps together. Yet, a nagging thought lingered, just out of reach in the excitement of their newfound connection. Would they truly make it through everything that lay ahead? With tentative hope and the echoes of the festival in the air, Ethan felt the pulse of possibility. What challenges awaited them, hidden just around the corner? Ethan felt the warmth of his father's acceptance like sunshine breaking through a cloudy sky. Jamal's cheerful voice pulled him back into the lively atmosphere of the festival, but the weight of their conversation hung around him like a comforting blanket. He glanced at Jamal, who was now studying him with a mix of curiosity and excitement. What's this about getting to know each other again? You guys have been deep in thought, Jamal teased, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Just more like getting on the same page, Ethan replied, a smile growing on his face. Jamal nodded, as if this was what he had hoped for all along. That's awesome, man. I knew you could do it. Your dad's tough but fair, you know. Ethan chuckled lightly. Tough is putting it mildly. The two of them drifted toward the festival's main square, drawn by the enticing sound of music and the swirling lights overhead. A warm breeze swept through, carrying the aromas of fried dough and sweet funnel cakes that made his stomach rumble in anticipation. Hey! Let us get some food! Jamal exclaimed, pointing toward a booth laden with treats. Ethan felt himself light up at the idea. They shared an easy camaraderie, fueled by the thrill of the festival. Squinting against the bright lights, Ethan felt a rush of gratitude that this moment existed, a feeling of belonging that had eluded him for so long. As they approached the food stand, laughter erupted from a nearby group of friends. The carefree atmosphere stirred something in Ethan, pushing him closer to joy. He turned to Jamal, who was now juggling 2 drinks, but an unexpected flash of doubt clouded his mind. Do you think people will actually come to see me? Ethan blurted suddenly, the insecurity creeping back in like an unwanted shadow. I mean, when I perform? Jamal stilled, his playful demeanor shifting to something more serious. Bro, it's not about the crowds. It's about the passion you bring to the stage. If you love what you do, others will feel that. The sincerity in Jamal's voice resonated with Ethan, awakening a deeper part of him. Maybe this wasn't just about his father's approval or the audience's cheers, it was about sharing his heart through his music. Yeah, you're right, Ethan said, nodding slowly. I guess I need to remember why I started. Suddenly, the booming laughter from the other group jolted his attention. A girl with bright red hair, laughing as she tried to catch a flying balloon, caught his eye. She was radiant, her energy infectious. Ethan felt an unexpected flutter in his chest, a reminder that moments of magic could be found everywhere as long as he was willing to look. Hey, you think you'll ever try to perform for a crowd that big? Jamal joked, nudging Ethan as they passed by. Ethan looked over at the crowd lost in laughter and celebration. Maybe, he replied, the thought swelling within him, igniting something bold and new. One day. As they moved further into the festival, they stumbled upon a small open area where aspiring performers displayed their talents. A few brave souls sang by the makeshift stage, pouring their hearts out, and Ethan found himself drawn to their raw authenticity. A familiar flutter of nerves gripped him, but alongside it was a surge of determination. Maybe I can sign up, he whispered, more to himself than Jamal. Do it. Jamal encouraged. What's stopping you? You just had a heart-to-heart with your dad. Ethan took a deep breath as he glanced back at his father, still a few steps behind, speaking with an old friend. Courage swelled in him. This moment was the bridge he had been searching for, a step toward embracing his true self. Just as he turned back to Jamal, a crash erupted from the stage, a microphone clattering to the ground. The audience gasped, and Ethan's heart dropped. Would the performers continue? Could he still perform? Hey! Let us help! Jamal shouted, darting forward without hesitation. Ethan blinked, torn between rushing with Jamal and retreating back into his shell. In that split second, a choice materialized before him: should he leap into the chaos and join his friend in helping, or should he fade into the background, fearful of the spotlight? He took one step forward, heart pounding, thoughts racing. Would this be a moment of transformation or a step back into doubt? As he made his decision, a fierce resolve ignited inside him. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it head-on. What awaited him next, he couldn't yet tell, but with Jamal by his side and the threads of his family's support woven around him, he felt alive for the first time. But would this leap of faith lead him to something extraordinary or push him further from the stage he dreamed of? Ethan stood with his heart racing as he watched the microphone lie on the ground. The festival continued on around them, a blur of colors and sounds, but in this moment, everything felt suspended. He wanted to freeze, to avoid his fear, yet Jamal's excited voice shattered the silence pulling at him. Come on, let us help them. With a small flicker of determination, Ethan broke into a jog, joining his friend who was already moving toward the stage. Each step felt like a step toward finding himself, toward rising beyond his father's shadow. Together, they reached the mic, hoisting it back to its rightful place, exchanging glances filled with undeniable energy. Thanks for stepping in, guys. One of the performers beamed, relief washing over them. Ethan's breath caught as he realized this was what he craved: authentic connection. Moments like this, filled with raw human spirit and genuine passion, were what he wanted to embrace. He turned toward Jamal, an understanding sparking between them. Now, did you see how quickly everyone jumped to help? Jamal said, eyes twinkling. That's what community is all about. The newfound belief flooded Ethan's heart. Instead of retreating into fear or doubt, he could be a part of something greater. With a full heart and rising confidence, he made a decision. I want to perform, Jamal. Jamal's eyes widened with excitement. Seriously? Like right now? Yeah. Definitely. Right now, Ethan confirmed, feeling fire igniting within him. As they approached the organizers, Ethan felt the weight of his earlier performance creeping back, but this time it felt different. His heart wasn't just pounding, it was alive, thrumming with the rhythm of possibility. I want to join in with the next group, he stated, voice steady. After a brief chat, the organizers nodded, ushering Ethan to the side of the makeshift stage. The cheers from the crowd reminded him of a wave crashing on a beach, pulling him further into their passion. This was at the moment to claim his place, to be seen. The spotlight brightened as he stepped forward, the heat of the audience washing over him. He looked down, steadying himself, feeling Jamal's unwavering support nearby. There was no breaking point, no fragility in standing up here anymore. Just an abundance of courage, filling his chest like a warm embrace. That he took a deep breath and centered himself. Hey! I'm Ethan, he introduced, scanning the faces in the crowd. There were kids, families, and even some parents peering in with encouraging smiles. I want to share something from my heart. As the words tumbled out, he felt every ounce of fear evaporate, replaced by a sense of joy he didn't know he'd been missing. He glanced at his father, standing a little ways back amidst a sea of festival-goers, arms still crossed but focused, listening. Ethan clutched the mic, rhythm flowing through him as he started singing. The melody floated into the night air, wrapping around everyone like a warm blanket. He poured his heart out, every note resonating with truths about longing, connection, and the beauty of vulnerability. Even though he could feel the weight of expectations from his father, it felt like he was breaking free of their confines. With each line and verse, he noticed nods of recognition ripple through the crowd. Kids chimed in, parents exchanged smiles, and something magical began weaving them all together. He didn't just feel alive, he felt beloved. Tears sprung to his eyes, but they were tears of pure joy. The finale hit, and as he belted out the last notes, the audience erupted into wild applause. Ethan soaked in the moment, the excitement of connection and acceptance washing over him like sunlight breaking through a storm. It was exhilarating. He smiled back at the crowd, energy surging through him. There was Jamal, standing at the front, beaming with pride. But Ethan couldn't shake the thought of his father, standing back. Would his father see this in him? As the song faded and the audience continued clapping, Ethan stepped down from stage, a newfound sense of determination pulsing through him. He wove through the crowd to where his father stood, mind racing. "Dad!" he called, feeling vulnerability slathering on the edges like paint. "Did you see? Did you feel that?" His father pushed forward through the remaining crowd, hesitating just a moment in the thrumming energy of the festival. I did, Ethan. You really put yourself out there." Each word felt like a step forward. "It's more than just performance, Dad. It's everything I've learned from Jamal, from the community. You have to believe that." His father studied his eyes, the corners of his mouth twitching upward. I think I see you now." Ethan's heart leaped. Was that a hint of acceptance? Was this the bridge they had long sought? "And I can honestly say I'm proud," he continued. "Proud of you for standing up and sharing your voice." The world slowed to a gentle rhythm. A wave of relief washed over Ethan, wrapping tightly around his chest. "Thank you, Dad, thank you for seeing me." His father offered a nod, and the faintest smile broke across his face. Though it may have been small, it felt monumental, a turn from years spent navigating the waters of expectations to standing firmly on the shore of acceptance. The festival buzzed around them, the excitement thrumming like a heartbeat, but at that moment, there was only them. Powerful and full of promise, life stretched out before them, brimming with uncertainty, yet they felt equipped to face it together. In Ethan's heart, the transformation was profound, ignited by a single moment, and a newfound understanding of love that transcended wealth or status. Bright hope glimmered on the other side, promising to light the way, one song, one connection at a time. And as the festival roared back to life, a world of possibilities lay in wait. This was just the beginning, and Ethan was finally ready to embrace it all. Now it's your turn. If you felt the powerful journey of Ethan unfold, then you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to follow every inspiring story that comes next. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the positivity flowing. Comment down below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And please share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the inspiration. Only true fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep the momentum going.